Hey everyone, it's Ron, and you're watching Ron Plays. Today we're going to be doing a review of Kingdoms Reborn. I was doing the series earlier. I think I posted 5 videos of starting from scratch. But what we're going to be using today is a game I was playing on my own. It's quite advanced. If you look up on the left, you'll see I'm in year 77. Got 3.4 million gold and making about 28,000 per period. So it's pretty advanced. In the tech tree, for those of you that have played the game, I'm virtually to the end. I've got a couple, like social science I could do, the basilica, also with the upgrades. I'm pretty much at the end, so I've played it almost to end game, and I thought, it'd be time to do a review. For those of you who saw my Farthest Frontier review, I did say that I kind of wanted to get 100 hours into a game before reviewing it, but then, what I started thinking about it, I started playing this game, and I was thinking, man, 100 hours is a big ask, especially when you're trying to do a lot of different games and put out videos and reviews like this. So I thought 50 would be good enough. I've exceeded 50 on this game, so I think I'm pretty far into it. As you can see, I'm pretty advanced in this game, and I just thought that after 50 hours, look at people. If you're with somebody for 50 hours, you're going to kind of know whether you like them or not. So I would think that a game is probably even easier to read than people. So with that, I think we're going to get going. The game itself is an early access game by Earthshine. It was released initially in November of 2020, and it's available on Steam at this time for about $19.99. So it's a city builder with multiplayer mode, which isn't too common. I haven't tried it. I was just trying to get the hang of the game, trying to learn a little bit, and I've read some things about it. It seems like it works really well. So if you're into the multiplayer aspect of it, that might be something to seriously consider, especially at that price point. It's not too bad. The game's updated regularly. Major update was just added in December of 2022, adding a Viking faction. It's interesting because when you go in the game and you actually choose it, it's Norsemen, but same thing, I think. I hope so, because they kind of just substituted one for the other, and that's what I played here. This game, I did play Norsemen. It claims it's a high difficulty. Maybe if you play it in the wrong location. I picked a northern location, kind of, keeping in with the cold weather, because you do get a cold weather advantage with the Norsemen. But I actually didn't find it any more difficult than playing the others. So I'm not quite sure why it's considered a higher difficulty, but I didn't have a problem playing it myself. Full disclosure, Earthshine did provide me a free copy of this game to play it and sample it. That will not affect my review. Anytime I receive games, even if they're free, my review will be completely neutral. So anything that I say here is completely my own thought process behind the game. Usually I start out with my pros. So my pros is the game's pretty easy to learn for the most part. If you've played these types of games before, it'll be very familiar to you. You're basically building a city from nothing. And you have some hints in the upper right if you want to activate it at the beginning, which is a pretty good idea because it'll guide you through building your first houses, building your first fruit gatherers and hunting lodges and things like that, fishing lodges. So it can be a good idea to turn that on. It's kind of a tutorial. It's very non-invasive or non-intrusive, I guess. So it's a good thing to use when you're starting out. But other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you look over here, you need wood, obviously, to heat the houses, to build houses with. You have coal, which is better at heating houses than wood is, and you can use cards, which you'll see in a little bit, to improve that. Depending on how you're making the coal, if you're mining it, you can also burn wood. So you have a charcoal burner. You know, you can do these improvements that'll increase their work speed, so they'll get things done faster. And these sustainability books are huge because um, it consumes 30% less byproducts. So you'll see right now it's using 2 wood to create 60 coal, which is huge. If I take these out, now it goes up to 7, which doesn't seem like a big deal. Um, but you know, when you have a lot of these coal burners going, it does make a difference. Um, so there are ways you can mitigate some of the usage, but I mean it's pretty self-explanatory. You have things like markets, um, you know, supplies houses within the radius. When you go to place them, it'll actually show check marks for each house that it touches. So you know, it's pretty intuitive. You know, if you have multiple markets, you know, it'll show the zone of coverage for each market. So you can also go between the markets, clicking on the little arrows. So you know, it's pretty intuitive that way. It's so, you know, generally a very good pro is it's pretty easy to learn. Um, you know, when you're making cocoa, for instance, you see it says at the top raw cocoa is used in chocolate making, so you know you have to create a chocolatier, I think it is. Yeah, so you'd have to make one of those to make chocolate. So um, you know, it's really self-explanatory. On here, you know, it says right there, makes chocolate from milk and cocoa. How do you get milk? You do a cattle ranch. So you see rear dairy cows for milk. So it is pretty clearly labeled everything throughout the game, so it makes it pretty easy to learn how to play. Another pro, and there's lots of them, it has good graphics. I enjoy them. You know, they're not super detailed, but you see as things get, you know, as winter hits, things will start showing snow. It shows them gathering the crops from the fields. So you know, it's I mean, is it to the level of Farthest Frontier? No, but I mean, it's still pretty cool. You can tell that person's carrying tulips. You know, you see our town center, very Viking-esque. You know, you'll see the bushes are covered with snow. You got your Viking or your Norseman statues. You know, you got a lot of interesting things. You've got your tailors, so you've got your rolls of cloth. You got a trading company little signs. So I mean, it's kind of a mix. You know, I think it's pretty cool graphics. I don't think they're going for the ultra detailed like your Farthest Frontier, but you know, even like your stave church down here, you know, it's got nice details. Definitely good enough. I don't know if it's, you know, stellar, but I think it's pretty darn good. Nothing to complain about. It's got your little outside things. You know, this is an oil rig, so it's got your little tubs outside, your tanks and stuff. You know, the cables holding it up. So I mean, it's pretty neat. It's even got a little like Nordic twist to it. You know, at the top, for instance, and the little wood details. So I think it's pretty cool. You know, you got your market, you got your things, you know, lined up outside your market. So it's pretty clear what it is. So I think the graphics are definitely a plus. Also, another plus is it's just the interface itself. I find it's actually pretty good. I mean, if you look at the sidebar over here, it's pretty interesting. In that, you know, you can pretty much click on anything and get a full report on, you know, all your usage. You know, I mean, it gets a little too much as far as who's buying what. I mean, I'm not sure that I need that much detail. That might be a little bit of overkill by Earthshine, but it is interesting having all these details. And again, it's not too obtrusive. You know, you can see like your cocoa. All you have to do is just mouse over them and it tells you how much your production is and how much your consumption is. You'll see we have way too much gold ore. You know, we're getting close to running out of storage, so you can plop some more storage down. You know, you can see a breakdown of your happiness or your unhappiness, depending on how you look at it. You know, you can even see all your houses levels. You'll see my houses are going down because I've been cutting back on my luxuries a little bit, but you know, that we'll discuss in just a little bit. The only thing I wish it had was the ability to collapse. You know, you do have to scroll through all this, so it'd be nice You know, you had a little heading up here that said resources. You can click on it, it would collapse this list because I may be like completely satisfied with my resources, but I'm worried a little bit about my food, you know, so I might just want this to be up at the top. Um, you know, I mean, I guess I can scroll down like this and look at it, but it's very, very minor. You know, I may have all my first tier luxuries really dialed in, my second tier, so maybe I only want to see my third tier. So if I could collapse this long list and just have my food and maybe my tier 3 at the top, that would be nice. But again, super, super minor. But overall, it's a huge plus. You know, this the speed up and slow down and pause are up here, very unobtrusive. You know, your science, you know, what you're researching, tucked up there in the corner. So I think that's really good. You also have this overview down here. I think it's odd because it's only showing me my one town. I think it's combining them for whatever reason. I wish it would break them out, because you'll see that it only shows I have 1135 population, but it's showing that I have, you know, 19 more. So that's obviously my other town. Well, I don't think I have any easy way to get there. Unfortunately, you know, I can zoom out and I can go to where I know it is, which is over here. I just kind of added as an afterthought for this review. Didn't really go into any kind of development. But you'll see here that there is another little village over there. And what's nice is you can click on this and it'll jump me back to my major city, but I can't get back to the other one. So kind of annoying, but the interface itself, though, is what we're focusing on, is really good. And it's interesting because once you zoom in, you know, this pops up. Once you zoom out, you're looking at the global map. It goes away. So it's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty intuitive. I like it. Another plus is the auto trade system. The auto trade system saved me quite a few times. You have this building over here. It's the trading company. And you do want to make sure you upgrade it as much as you possibly can, because when you upgrade it, it'll increase this total trade amount down here and make trades a little faster. But you'll see I can set up things to automatically export. You know, I can have my target 1000 is where I want to keep that at. My inventory is at 980, and if it goes above that, I can sell 50 of these pocket watches at a time for, you know, whatever the price is. It's usually within a pretty good range, but in this case it's 107 per watch. So that's a pretty hefty price, especially when you see steel down here and dye is cheap. So these are things that I'm buying, I'm automatically importing. This is the maximum I can import per each trade that I want to do. I want to make sure my steel stays at 500, my dye stays at 250, my iron bar at 300, my concrete at least 500. So if I have over this, it just won't trade. So it's pretty nice. My pocket watches, if I get over 1000, then I'll start trading it. So you can set these up. You can delete them just as easily. You can change their importance because it will do the top one first when it's importing. So you don't have the space, because initially I think this starts out with 60 space. So 60, with only 60, you'll start running into some problems. So you know, sometimes you have to move these up or down. You'll say, if it's more important for me to import dye than steel, then I would just move the dye up ahead of the steel. So this is a really good tool. It helped me a lot with stabilizing my tools that I'm about to run out of. So we'll have to see, like my auto import. Iron tools last longer, and I don't have access to iron, so I buy my iron tools, and I can say I want to keep 500 with trades of 100, and now it says next round it'll automatically buy 100 of them, and I don't have to worry about it because I have 3.5 million gold. You know, it's telling me it's going to cost me 4,000, which is literally nothing. So you just kind of want to keep that in mind when you're playing the game. But in this case, it's just a review. So the auto trade system is really convenient, really easy to use. Another pro is, I think, the card system. You know, when I first started playing, I've been told and I've read that it's a lot like Banished, and that it uses cards. I'm not sure. I haven't played Banished, believe it or not, during the time it came out. I was way more of a console player, so never really got into Banished at all. But I thought this was going to be kind of irritating, but it's actually pretty cool. I kind of like the system. Now we're getting a lot more variety. You know, we have oil power plant, World Trade Office, but at the beginning, you know, you get all the very simple things, like your hunting lodges, your fruit gatherers, things like that, your stone tool makers. And what's nice is once you reach 5, so basically what's happening is every 150 seconds, you get another card down here. Once this reaches 5, it automatically becomes a wild card, and then you just end up with 118 wild cards, and these 118 cards I can use to buy any building I have available to me. So you know, I guess toward the beyond the first, you know, few hours of playing the game, the idea of it being cards becomes kind of irrelevant, because you'll just have so many wild cards, you can just buy whatever you want. You know, and if you're playing well, you'll have plenty of money, so you don't really have to worry about it. You do have the ability to buy cards over here. You'll see the card shop. That's given to you as a free building very early in the game, and you can go in here and actually buy these cards. So, you know, the card I was showing you earlier, the sustainability, consume 30% less input. It shows it's 12,000 gold now, which is still nothing compared to the amount I have, but I think it started out, you know, around 1,200 or something like that. And it goes up every time you buy it. So now it's 12,160. If I want to buy one, it pops down here, and now it's 12,480. So they all go up a little bit. And you can also buy special things like your cannabis breeders, your cocoa breeders, your tulip breeders. So you can buy all these things. So although at the beginning, when you're looking at the map, you know, some people look around, they're like, well, you know, I gotta be near cannabis, I gotta be near tulips, because they do appear naturally on the map. You actually don't have to, because you get access to all those quite early in the game, actually. So, you know, I could zoom in here a little bit. Like down here, I can get tulips without having to pay for it. Up here, I could get cannabis without having to pay for it, but you have to get to it. That's the thing. So in my case, you know, once you get high enough up there, you just, and it's not even that far into the game, maybe a third of the way into build, you know, completing your city, you're getting access to all these things. So, you know, the only thing you don't get access to is these hard commodities like gold, coal. Now I have oil because I'm farther into the game, and iron and coal. Yeah, I think I already mentioned coal, but iron. Those things you can't, you know, just create like you can with the other with the products like your grapes. I think I've got a grape field down here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, so I'm growing grapes down here, and I have my winery right there. And I can improve it if I had more than one. But anyway, don't want to get into that. But the card system is good because you can you know, improve things with your cards. Cards are also played in your town hall, so you've got these 5 cards I'm playing, and they all have special effects. You know, +8 farm productivity, social welfare, 30% job happiness, -5 coins for each citizen, which is fine. You know, fishing cooperative, you get that once you've caught a certain number of fish. So, and this is a big bonus because you'll see +1 happiness above 60%, and I'm at 106, so I'm getting a 46% bonus on my fishing lodges, so that's pretty good. And, or excuse me, 46% productivity, which is pretty huge. You have global bonuses. These apply to all of your villages that you build, all your colonies. This is just your town bonus, so it's specific to this town, and if you decide to make a colony, you get to pick one specific to that colony. So, you know, if we want to apply this the sustainability book, we can just go over to something that's producing and just pop it in there. You'll see now it's using 7 wood to make 62 coal. Now it only uses 4, so, which again doesn't seem that big of a deal, but it is over the lifetime of the building. So another thing, the overlays are pretty interesting. You do have overlays up here that will tell me the fertility of the land. You know, I can hide the trees. So, if I want to, it does automatically in this case, but I'll see places where the fertility is good, so I can grow crops if I want to. You'll see these all have crops going all around them because they have high fertility. So usually it's around the rivers. Around the oceans, you don't really have good fertility. You'll see it's like red up here, but if you're near a river or the mouth of a river or a lake like this, an inland area, everything around the river is usually pretty fertile. You do have some fertile spots on the map. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, like this is showing a fertile area, so this one's really good because, you know, it's a very solid green. So you want to grow in that area because it has fertility. But these you know, overlays are pretty good. You can switch to appeal, and this shows where you want to build houses. It gives you a higher living desirability, I guess you could say. So appeal is pretty important to keep your people happy because that's one of the items over here. You'll see housing, I'm at 98%. So and city attractiveness is 119%. So in this case, I do have to hide the trees, so I can hide the trees and see where I want to build them. You'll see, for instance, like these houses, this one is 92% appeal. You know, if I want to improve that a little bit, I could go down here and just plop a tree right there, and well, still 92%, but oh, I know why. So I probably need to move forward a little faster because that's supposed to up my appeal. Let's see, let's just do a garden and see what that helps. Yes, we want more immigrants. And with each immigrants, I get a book. So again, plus 20% productivity. And it pops up down here. Does that change it? Yeah. So now we got 112% because I dropped that garden right there. So, you know, the overlays are good. They show me where I can build houses and shows you where you can build your crops, you know, where you want to grow your farms. Animals, I don't really use that much. You know, you can see the animals glow, but you know, if I want to put in a hunting lodge, let's turn that off. So now we have no overlay. If I'm gonna put down a hunting lodge that obviously hunts animals, see, it shows them anyways, so they automatically glow. So I'm not quite sure why they want to have that as an overlay. It seems like a waste, but the overlays are generally a good thing. Another pro, I think, is just the vast array of raw materials, food, and luxuries you have. It can be a little bit overwhelming, which we'll discuss in a little bit, but you'll see for like the Norsemen, they actually get plus 10 gold every time somebody consumes cheese, so it kind of makes me want to cut down on some of this other food, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. You know, I think it's interesting because it does allow you to create a lot of production levels. You know, it does force you to make sure, you know, that you have enough, well, in this case, way too much cocoa, but make sure you have enough cocoa to make your coffee, etc. So, you know, I think the diverse number of raw materials that you have is pretty interesting. The different types of food you have are interesting. This isn't nearly, you know, the number of different types of food I can have. If I go to the card buyer, I think I have, you know, some other ones I can get. I haven't done cotton. I haven't done dye. I haven't done pumpkins. I haven't done melons, and I haven't done blueberries. So, I mean, there's even more I could be doing if I really wanted to. So I think that's a plus. The last pro I have is they do have some unique buildings in here, which are kind of interesting. You know, you have like a zoo, you know, and if you look at the collection, I wasn't sure how to fill these in at first, but earlier today when I was preparing for this, I apparently caught a red deer, and when I caught that red deer, it automatically showed a card down here, and it said if I put in the zoo, I get a special bonus. So I went and stuck in my zoo. How I get these other ones, I have no idea. I guess it just randomly happens. Another building they have up here is an artifacts collection building. I have no idea where any of these come from. So that's kind of a con at the same time because they don't really explain how to get these things. I haven't been able to see anywhere how to get them. But, you know, to be honest, I haven't been too concerned. This is kind of like a a side thing, you know. I mean, because if you look at some of these, the city attractiveness, happiness, +5 of the upgrade points. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I mean, I'm making 27,000 a period, 3.6 million gold. I got 388 upgrade points. My happiness is 106. I don't really need anything that these guys can provide me, so it's not that critical. But still, it'd be nice to know how it works. You know, there's some other buildings. Where is the other one? Oh, like this one. So I have a World Trade Office. For some reason, it's obsessed with increasing the price of pita bread. I keep telling it to increase the price of a pocket watch, but for some reason, is every time I go back, it keeps saying pita bread every time I restart. So, but you'll see each round it increases or decreases the price by 5%. So you can really crank that pocket watch price up, and steel, I can tell it I want it to go down. So, you know, I mean, pretty self-explanatory what it does. So I think some of the buildings they have in here are pretty interesting. My neutrals, I think a neutral replayability, you know, it's okay, random map generator, but the game has to be engaging. Unfortunately, I think too many games just say, oh, we have a random map generator, so our game can be played infinitely. You know, I guess that's true, but if the game isn't super exciting, then are you ever really going to replay it? But that's a neutral, because I do like the fact that it has a random map generator. One pro that I forgot that's kind of cool is this speed boost. So you do get a speed boost that allows you to get 4 of them. That I can say, well, you know what? I need you to make these stone tools a little faster. So I can click on it and I can speed these things up, and it'll actually make them faster. So it's kind of neat, you know. This replenishes over time. I think it's 1 period you get 1 speed boost. So I mean, you can do it on most of the things. You know, if I need more clay, which I don't, because I think I have a bunch over here. I got 4,600 clay, but if I need more clay really fast, I could boost my clay pit and get it out there faster. If I need more bricks, I could boost my brickworks. You know, and other things like that, you know, where I can hold down shift and it'll actually try and upgrade all my brickworks. I only have 1, but little details like that are pretty good. But I do like the speed boost, and I forgot to mention that. That's kind of a unique feature that I've seen here that works pretty well. And I think it lasts 60 seconds, I think 50 seconds. So it goes faster. You know, I mean, it's not huge, because a lot of times it takes quite a bit of time to make these tools to begin with. So it won't automatically crank them out, but I think that's a pretty cool feature. Back to my neutrals, we talked about replayability. The house is upgrading and downgrading all the time. So, you know, at one point I had, where it shows now I have 39 level 8 houses. I had like 60 of them. And you'll see they're all mushed down in level 2. It'll show you what it takes to get a house to level up. You know, it's pretty intuitive. I got a level 3 house, so you'll see that it shows, like, you know, right there it says luxury tier 1 used for house upgrading. But it'll show you it needs 3 types of luxury tier 1 to increase level. So right now it's only got 1. So what'll happen is as these fluctuate, you'll see there's no tier 2 in here at the moment, even though I have tier 2 down here. You know, there's no coats and there's no coffee in there for some reason, even though I've got tons of them. So that's, you know, that's something you'd have to work out with logistics, etc. They're probably just not being delivered. But anyway, not to get too far off base, what I don't really like is that these houses, you know, they'll go up to level, you know, you'll have a level 8 house like that, and then before you know it, you'll turn around, you have a level 1 house. So, I mean, I understand the motivation behind trying to make sure the player maintains certain resources and certain luxuries, but I feel that, you know, if nothing else, maybe things should be more heavily reliant on population as far as your income, rather than the size of the house. Because, you know, in reality, are people constantly like coming in and demolishing this level 8 house and building a level 1 house? I mean, come on. I mean, if anything else, the houses should all stay level 8, and then but people start leaving if the luxuries aren't there. I mean, I guess you could make it like if the houses are empty for too long, they deteriorate. Like in a game like Farthest Frontier, if a house becomes abandoned for too long, it's just unrepairable and you have to destroy it. So I think there's just some. I mean, I understand it. You want people to have to keep a steady stream of luxuries, but just the way they go about it with houses getting bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller. I mean, you can literally sit here and watch the game and you'll see houses shrink in front of your eyes when it says downgrade, then all of a sudden, poof, they'll just upgrade and be a level 8 house again. So I mean, there's just a little bit of I don't know how to explain it, unbelievability there, I guess. But you know, it's again, it's a neutral, so it doesn't really bother me that much, except for your population can really fluctuate. I was up to 1192 and I've gotten rid of no houses whatsoever, and I'm down to 1138. So you do lose population, but I think you should lose population without losing home capacity. It doesn't make much sense to me. Another neutral is colonization was definitely an afterthought. And I think I read that it was, added down the line, but I mean, my city and area that was this big. I mean, if you look at my land grab area, it's the maximum I can go. I can't grab anymore because it's saying it's too far from my town hall. So I really can't. Oh, I can grab that one. And I've got a ton of money, so I can keep grabbing these. I really can't grab them anymore because they're at my limit. These I might be able to grab. See, it's weird because I just checked these earlier and I couldn't take any of them. And I thought maybe it was because of that, but it won't let me take the one across the water, which is odd. So I just plopped a colony there, and it's kind of in a bad spot because I really can't break out anywhere. But man, so you get to the point where you're at your hometown. You have this city, you have all of this, you've got all of your food balanced. Granted, now I'm gaining way too much food, but let's just say you have your food balanced, you've got all your resources balanced, everything's working great, and it's taken me 20-30 hours to do this, and then I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna plop a colony and go through all of this all over again. I mean, it's you can tell it was an afterthought. There's no way in heck I'm going to want to go through building this whole like giant building or this giant city all over again. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I think as a city builder, this is great. I think as an empire builder, it would be a mistake. I just don't think that colony needs to be there. Colonization comes, unless you're really fighting for it. I think, where is it? It's way, it's in the Enlightenment age. So it's the next to last age. The industrial age is the last. So it comes toward the latter part of your Enlightenment age. And you'll see it's pretty far down the list. So unless you're really gunning for it, you're not really going to get this colonization until your city is pretty darn big and you've got most of these things worked out anyways. So to me, if nothing else, you're just glutting for punishment if you want to do that, because it takes so much time to fine tune this. Why would you want to just beat yourself up and go through the whole thing all over again? And you can see, this is a pretty extensive city. I mean, I've got stuff like all over the place. I've got stuff way down south, because one of the well, we'll get into that in the cons, but let me just say that, building a colony and starting to make a big city like this again would basically be torture. I don't understand why you'd want to do it again, especially, in the condition I'm in now. I'm basically in a win condition. I could win if I wanted to. I can go down here and I can buy pretty much anything I want. If I wanted to, I mean, I could easily buy the Basilica and Odin's Hall, which basically win me the game. Because I'd only need 500,000 gold, and I've got 3.7 million. So I could win the game right now if I wanted to. So why? You're 2/3 of the way to that to begin with when you even get colonization. So why would you want to colonize? I personally, I don't get it. But I count that as a neutral because it doesn't bother me and it doesn't impede me from playing the game the way I normally would. My last neutral would be, I keep seeing reviews that say this is like Civilization. Oh, it's a combination of Banished and Civilization. I've got literally thousands of hours playing Civilization, and this is so not Civilization. I don't know what to say. I mean, okay, I can drop a colony, but that doesn't make it Civilization. The level of detail, you know, the resource management here is perfect for this kind of game. It's got nothing to do with Civilization whatsoever. Civilization is so not a commodity resource driven game. It's just nothing like this. And to say that being able to create a colony or multiple colonies makes it Civ-like is just, I don't know. No offense to the people saying it, but it's like irrational. I don't even understand the comparison. To me, you know, in my humble opinion, they're two different genres. One's an empire building game. This one, you know, one's a city building game. This is definitely a city building game. Civilization is definitely not a city building game. So they're just nothing like each other. The similarity to Banished, I'm just taking people at their word. Okay, Banished used cards apparently. This used cards. So they could be similar, I'm not sure, but I certainly know about Civilization, and this is nothing like Civilization. So anything you read or see or hear in other reviews that say this is like Civilization, it is absolutely not even close. And this game doesn't challenge Civilization, and I'm not going to rate it against Civilization. A game like Humankind definitely took on Civilization. It just right in its face. It said, that's what I'm doing. I don't think Earthshine had any intention of challenging Civilization with this game. Completely different. My cons aren't too long, but one of the things that bothers me is you really can't do anything with these neutral cities. And it bugs me. You know, if I click on this, I can... Oh, I already conquered that one. Sorry. If I want to do anything with this, I can connect a trade route, which I have to create a road from here to any road that I own, which is fine. Okay, you know, I can do that. But then so I take my intercity road, I go here, and all I gotta do is bring it up here, get it through here. It doesn't matter how I get there, just get it to one of my roads. Oh, I think it's just too long now. So I can do it there, and then start there, go there, and now I can go back down to this city, and I can do connect trade route. So now I have a trade route established. So now the only thing I can do is gift it money, which I still haven't. Okay, I can gift it. Let me gift it 10,000. So I'll gift it 10,000, and now I have 500 out of 100 relationship, but it's neutral. So, you know, I could be wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. That's fine. But, you know, intuitively, I have no idea what I can do with this city other than conquer and raise it. And if I conquer it, which I can do very easily with my infantry tank, you know what? We'll just do it. So I can conquer it very easily. But the thing is, when I conquer it, I still can't really do anything with it. And this is the extent of the combat with this game. Which I appreciate. You know, some people are like, oh, you know, I don't like the combat because it's too slow, it's too boring, it's not, you know, very complicated. This game is absolutely not a combat game. Okay, that's not the idea at all. We'll speed this up. I was like, why is it going so slow? You know, it's not a combat game, so this is kind of like a side hustle for it, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. What does bother me is I get nothing out of this city. I can either raise it or I can vassalize it. Once I vassalize it, it just sits there and gives me money. I should have the ability to maybe occupy it. Maybe it becomes a, maybe it becomes a town hall or a town center or something. But now, okay, that was it. So now I just get tribute from it, and I get my trade route that I put in there, which is okay. But the problem is if it has like gold in here, for instance, like I had a neutral city up here. Where was it? Where this gold was. So this site right here used to have a neutral city right in the middle of it. Okay, I conquered it, but I couldn't get the gold. The only way I could get the gold was to raise the city that I'm aware of. And to me, it's like, okay, why? What's the point of that? So I just destroy the city and there's just nothing there. Or if I vassalize it, why can't I use its resources? There was a card or something that said, I can't remember if it was a card or a building. It said I could use other people's resources. But you know what? I won't worry about that right now. So there may be a way to do it. I don't know, but if there is, it's very not intuitive. So I list it as a con. I don't like the neutral city interaction. It seems like a complete waste of time, to be honest. One other thing that kind of annoys me that makes sense, but nevertheless it annoys me, is the fact that when you put a building down, you have to have homes within a certain distance to be able to operate that building. And good grief, these little roads still aren't built. It's kind of annoying. So in other words, I wanted this gemstone mine to be built. I needed gemstones so I could build pocket watches. So it'll tell me I don't have houses within a certain proximity. Now, I could just plop one house next to it if I wanted to, but it's kind of lame. So I'll do like this, and I'll drop all these houses in here. Of course, they're all dropping level 2 now. But anyway, I drop all these houses in here. If I'm going to put all these houses in here, then I should probably have a tavern to make sure they're all happy. I should also make sure I have a market to make sure they're all getting all the stuff they should be getting. You'll see that house just instantly upgraded. There's like a level 8 house here, but there's like level 2s all around it. I made a bank because you get money from the bank. So I'm building these little clusters. I have to build a warehouse because I have to have the ability to store this nearby. I've got hauling services so they can haul things out. And the problem is you end up building these little clusters like all over the place. And to be honest, it gets a little repetitive. I've got this big cluster here because I needed people to work at my winery and my wine area. Out here, I would have rather just had these cattle farms out here on their own, along with the cheesemakers, but I have to put all these houses along here because they have to be within a certain area. And that one I didn't end up building a cluster. They're just houses, and if they're going to be kind of unhappy there, then they're going to kind of be unhappy there. Over here, I had to build a bunch of houses, because I need houses for the people working at the power plant, and other items I had around here. It's especially annoying when you have, when you have things like way out here where you want to do you want to just have hunters out there. Well, then you got to build a house nearby. You got to build storage nearby. And, I end up building a theater, you build a bank, you build a market, you build a tavern, all the things to keep them happy, a school. It just gets, to be honest, the repetition gets a little much. What I like in some of the other games, like you'll see in Farthest Frontier and even in Settlement Survival, is you'll have like little local houses you can build just for the workers. So, I can have, in those games, I can have a hunting lodge way out here, and I can just build like a little temporary shelter next to it that gets stocked with food, etc. And that's just it, and the temporary shelter is kind of neutral. It doesn't affect your the appeal or the livability. It's just someplace they can temporarily stay while they're working. And to me, that makes sense. I mean, I could be wrong. If you disagree, feel free. If you disagree with any of this, feel free to put it in the comments. Just be civil about it. I'm always up to getting some constructive feedback. But it's just you know, cluster after cluster after cluster after cluster, you know, after cluster. It's just, it does get a little repetitive, and that's why when I zoom out, you'll see them, they're like all over the place. A cluster there, you know, a cluster down there, a cluster there, you know, a cluster there, cluster, 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 cluster. So did, you know, do I really want to come down here and do that all over again with a colony when I'm already making like tons of gold? I'm, you know, it's just me, you know. But you'll see as my houses keep going down, I keep losing population, which is fine. I'm not going to be able to. I'm not really going to play this beyond this, anyways. But another con is, you know, it's difficult to find buildings once they're placed. You'll see this is a pretty large area. I wish there was like, and maybe there is, and I just don't know. But I wish there was like a search feature, because a lot of times you're like the zoo. You're just plopping it. I remember where it is now because I was prepping for this video, so I made sure I remembered. But when this red deer popped up, you know, I was messing around with my colony over there. I had no idea where this zoo was. You know, I've got, if you start moving around this area, I mean, you've got stuff like everywhere. You know, it's like all over the place. So, you know, a lot of times when you're building stuff like that, it's just like an opportunity, like this artifact collection. I just happened to have a hole there, so I just plopped it there. I couldn't remember where that was. You know, and you have unique buildings like that you're gonna drop, and I mean, I guess you could just make like a central location to drop all those type of buildings. I kind of did that on the other side over here, but again, I don't know exactly where it is. But I had a fort over here that, yeah, I put these buildings around it just so I could kind of remember. You know, so it'd be nice if you had like a little search feature. You know, I've got a question mark, but it doesn't tell me where anything is. So, you know, maybe that tells me what I can do with other towns. I don't know. I never really looked at this, to be perfectly honest. You know, I like to try and play games, which is what knowledge you might have when you start. I'm not a big fan of, you know, even like Civipedia and the Civilization. I don't really want to stop and have to look through a bunch of stuff. You know, I'm hoping it's intuitive enough, but yeah, I'd like there to be a search feature. That'd be nice. Another con is it's not super challenging at the normal level. For those of you who watched any of my other review videos, I'm not a big fan of having to up the difficulty to enjoy the game. And you know, other than having some stone tool issues, and my people just ate through the stone tools like crazy, I just kept building more and more and more stone tools makers. And I understand that I think iron tools last longer, so you don't have to have as many. But I mean, to be honest, it just got irritating. It started driving me nuts. My immigration brought in 5 people. Nobody's supposed to be working my immigration. So you can turn these buildings on and off. And for some reason, all my immigration buildings turned back on again, even though I had them all turned off. So, I mean, there are some things that are kind of glitchy in this game, to be perfectly honest. Which, you know, isn't the end of the world. I don't mind that much, because it is an early access game, but overall it's very enjoyable. But there are little glitches like that that'll get you, because you'll see as my houses get smaller, I'm losing people. See, because they're homeless, which, you know, is fine. If I was going to keep playing, I'd fix that. I'd work on my luxuries a little bit more, because my luxuries must be running low. Even though it shows a lot, so maybe I just have delivery issues. But either way, I would fix it, but I'm just not worried about it right now. But like I said, it's not very challenging at the normal level. I played the Norseman, which is supposed to be hard difficulty. Didn't seem any harder than any other. As long as when you choose your starting location, you choose near a river so you can grow food, and you have pretty darn quick access to coal, and you have wood in your initial starting point. You know, I mean, really would, you almost have to try to mess it up. You know, like if you choose like a starting location, like something, you know, just anything, near coal at the beginning, coal just helps you out. If you choose something like this, I mean, you have plenty of trees to start out with. You're on a river, so you can get fish right away. You can grow some crops right away if you want. You've got instant access to coal. Um, I mean, this would be a perfect starting point. You also would have immediate access to stone because you have mountains there too. So if you do this, you start chopping down the trees. You can grab some of these connecting areas very quickly because they're not particularly expensive. It's really not that difficult to start out, surprisingly enough. But I mean, it's challenging enough to keep you busy. But as you can see, almost 4 million gold. You'll see my gold's dropping because my population is dropping, because my houses are getting downgraded. But like I said, it's not super challenging. You shouldn't have to crank the difficulty up to make it a lot of fun. But other than stone tools, I really had no problems. I had a little food issue at one point when I kind of, there was a tipping point around 900 population where I hadn't opened up um, any new food avenues for like ever, and I just went out, grabbed some more territory, grew a bunch of crops, put in a bunch of farms along the river. This was farther out west. And once I did that, so all these farms I just added, and once I did that, my food problem became under control. So it is, it's kind of intuitive. You can adjust things pretty quickly, and to be honest, building the clusters just started to get on my nerves, got a little boring. I started losing a little bit of interest, even though at this point I could have won the game. So I guess it's kind of on me because I could have just put myself out of my well, I shouldn't say misery because it is a fun game. I could have just ended it a lot earlier than it's been going. Let's put it that way. And my final con is there only appears to be one way to win. Again, if you watch my previous videos, I like multiple ways to win. Maybe that's the civilization in me. But here, there's just not much interaction with my neighbors. I actually didn't build any units for a long time, and had no interaction from this guy to my right. I think it's Bjornhold. What's his name? Sven. Sven had all this area. It kind of annoyed me because I took this section from him, and although the infrastructure stays in place, all the buildings disappear, which I kind of see it as a con. It kind of annoys me, because especially if there's a mine in the area, if I'm taking it because I want the mine, why the heck would I destroy the mine in combat? So I think you should be able to keep some of the spoils of war, I guess. When you raise neutral cities, you get a pretty good chunk of gold. So you do get that out of it. But I mean, other than this guy paying me tribute, I'm getting nothing out of having this guy as a vassal. But I guess my original point is I had no army. He had like an earlier army. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a bunch of archers and some, berserkers or something. And he never bothered me. Never wanted to have nothing to do with me. Maybe because very early I got twice the population he did, and maybe that's a no-no in their code. Not to mess with something. The AI doesn't mess with something that much bigger, but I had no defense. But he didn't try and get me, so it seems like the only way to win is to get what they're called. Let me see. Oh, I think I gotta go into here. I forget the exact term. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Victory score. So it's to get enough victory score points so I could buy both of these, build them, and I'd win. Because I already have 2 buildings over here. I think you only have to build 4. So I've got 2 of them here. I built the Stave Church and I built the Great Long Hall. And I could build those other 2 if I wanted to and win the game. And that seems like it's the only way to win. I don't think you can vassalize everybody and win. There's no real tech win. I mean, I guess it's kind of like a tech win if you get to the end of your tech tree. Because if you get out here and be able to build a basilica, I guess, but I can just buy it and win, so I don't really know. Odin's Hall, I could just buy it right now, so I'm not sure why why I need to get those in the text. So I guess there's a couple different routes you can take, but I'm not sure why. I think you could, to be honest, I'm not sure, because what I'm trying to get at is I could, if I complete this and I research this with my 100 level 8 houses, I would get the opportunity to buy this card, one of these two cards. I'm sorry, I apologize. Which one was I looking at? I was looking at Odin's Hall. So I could go in here and I would get the opportunity to buy this card for a cheaper price. But if you look at it right there, it says 64,200. So if I research this, the only advantage I have is that it'll offer me the card automatically for 64,200 instead of 256,000. That's the only advantage I have. So you'll see my immigration office brought in 5 more immigrants. Dope. So I mean, there's still only one way to win. That's by building these 4 items. But there's, I guess, a couple different ways to get there. So I think that's kind of a con, because it just becomes kind of resource management and city building, and that's it. And then you just kind of end. Based on the fact that those are 256,000, I would probably have won 10 hours ago in playtime, and I wouldn't have the resources because I haven't built out the concrete and the steel that I would need to build those. But then I would just go to auto trade and I would just buy it. And that's kind of what these are doing. I think I have a concrete plant now, but I didn't at the time. But the steel, I don't build steel. I also don't produce iron bars, but I can buy both of these, and as this fills, it'll slowly deliver them to the build site, of one of the 2 buildings and build. And that's how I built the stave church. I mean, it sat here for a while not being built, and as my auto trade kept bringing items in, they kept getting delivered here until I had enough to build it. So that being said, the game is still early access. It's been out for 2.5 years, but I guess I'll give it its rating, and I would give it a pretty solid 8, believe it or not, as a resource management city building game. And I really feel like they need to focus on that. They need to just get rid of this colonization. In my opinion, they need to just get rid of the colonization. It's such an afterthought. To me, it makes no sense. You're not going to want to build this giant city twice. And with the auto trade and your trade, you have the trade down here where you can just do a straight up single trade. If I need let's say steel. If I need steel, I just buy, I can go up to 360. Of course, I could have just typed it in there, but I go up to 360, and for 19,000 out of my 4 million, I can just wait till this timer goes around and I'll have 360 steel. I mean, I can do everything with one city. I don't need to colonize. The colonization just would make me go through all this all over again, and I don't see the need to do that. I don't know why anybody would want to do that, to be perfectly honest, unless you're going to try and just build a bunch of small dinky cities. And I guess I don't know why you'd want to do that, but that's just my opinion. Having been able to win this game probably in 20 hours maybe at the most, I'm just guesstimating. I don't know why you'd want to stretch that out and just micromanage a dozen cities. Colonization and humankind do that well. They don't have this humongous resource list, which isn't a problem if it's a resource management city building game. Then this is excellent. Then if it's an empire building game, this is not excellent. You don't want to manage all those things. Like in the civilization humankind situation, you just want to build your build your buildings and have them give that city a bonus and be done with it. You don't want to micromanage all these resources. So again, I think as a resource management city building game, I give it a solid 8. I really do. I don't know what they could do to really improve it. I mean, there's some little cosmetic things, like maybe being able to collapse these items over here. You know, maybe stop making the houses upgrade and downgrade. I think if you've been watching, like, I think this house here has just been upgrading and downgrading and upgrading and downgrading. You'll see these just popping up with just downgrade and upgrade. I think that's kind of a waste in myself, but you'd probably have to do a lot of changing in the code to get that to be more population driven than house size driven. But I guess that was when I had neutral, so I really can't gripe too much. So you know, maybe you know, improving the neutral city interaction, you know, giving you more options maybe to actually occupy it, you know, and use the land, make it a little more intuitive, I think would be good. Like I said, maybe I'm missing something there. Like I said, I saw something, I don't remember if it was a card or something like that, where you can use you know, use the resources from other territories, but it wasn't very intuitive. I'll just say that, at least not for me. It might be for you. If this is, you know, if they're angling for this to be an empire building game, then I give it maybe a 7, probably even less than a 7, just because if you're gonna want to build an empire building game, you gotta get rid of a bunch of these resources. You cannot manage all that in every single city. It would be nuts. It would, I mean, if you want to put 1,000 hours into a game just trying to micromanage all these little colonies all over the place at this scale, I think it would be crazy. But I don't think that's what they're angling for, because it really seems like an afterthought thrown into the mix after the fact. I personally would just remove it. But I think as a city building game, I think this gets a solid 8, which even kind of surprised me. I think it's a really good game. It's got a lot of cool features. I like the cards, you know, I like the unique buildings, I like the auto trade, works really smooth. So yeah, if you've got any opinions yourself, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Just make sure they're constructive and respectable. If you don't agree with my rating, or if you do, let me know. If you've got some other games you'd like me to take a look at, let me know. If you're a publisher and you want to throw a game my direction, I'll be more than happy to take a look at it. I'm always open to new games, but I've got quite a few in line ready to go, so I think we're going to do some more playing of these types of games and some more reviews. So I have to thank you for watching. If you liked the video, if you found it informative, please like it. Subscribe to the channel to help it grow, and if you like my reviews, I think you can subscribe, or you can get notifications just for playlists. I will have a playlist that just has my game review videos in them. So again, thank you for watching me. I'm Ron, and you're watching Ron Plays.